What is the Loch Ness Monster? Is it a flesh and blood creature? A ghost of the past? An interdimensional being? There are a lot of ideas surrounding what exactly Nessie or the Nessies could be. And so today we're going to talk about a book that I read for the Cryptid Readathon called Nessie by Nick Redfern. This book is not your typical, like, okay, this happened, and doesn't really regurgitate all the same stuff. And that was quite refreshing to read this. So I'm going to just give you a little excerpt from the book that kind of gives you an idea of what it all is about and kind of surrounding the whole like Nessie lore and how far it goes back. And it goes way, way back. Like some of the settings were in the 1700s. So in this book, you will learn how, from the very first sightings of the Nessies that were ever recorded, the phenomenon became steeped in supernatural high strangeness. Magical rituals, satanic rites, necromancy, dragon worshipping cults that engage in bloody sacrifice under a full moon, bizarre synchronicities, UFO sightings, encounters with the dreaded men in black, and even exorcisms are part and parcel of the phenomenon that has become known as the Loch Ness Monster. So there's a lot going on in this book, and there's a lot that we get into, and it's absolutely fascinating. And it captivated my interest and held it the whole time. I pretty much flew through this book. I took a lot of notes. If you have ever wanted to get a little bit more into the weirder side of the Loch Ness Monster, I would highly recommend it. You get into a lot of the lore, too, of the other creatures that have been seen over the years that have been in and around Loch Ness, from like kelpies and strange elephantine, horse, camel type creatures. And not only has the Nessies been sighted in the water, they've also, some of them have been seen on land. The amount of sightings and different stories are quite fascinating as we get into it. And you also have the fact, too, that Loch Ness is on this big fault line called the Great Glen Fault Line. So if there are any kind of earthquakes and stuff, that could disrupt some things. Maybe open some portals and have interdimensional Nessies come through. We don't know. So we don't really know what Nessie is, because as the years have gone by, no one's actually seemed to have captured or found a dead creature that is considered a Nessie. At least that we know of, or that I know of at this point in time. Many people think they could be a bunch of different things, and some of those things have been said as, obviously sea serpents, or plesiosaurs, or giant salamanders, or really giant slugs. There's been all kinds of stuff, and then also the whole lore behind kelpies, and that they are a kind of demonic water horse, which would entice humans to get on their backs and then charge into the water and drown them. So the kelpie would have like some sort of strange metal bits, and it could shapeshift. And so some might say that these are shapeshifters as well. So there's all kinds of different interesting aspects to the backstory of what the heck is the Loch Ness Monster. And there's so many different things and ways that could go that it's quite freaking fascinating. So, and then he also does get into some of the more like famous pictures that have appeared over the years, and how a lot of them just all look very different from each other. Like from ones that look like this weird big kind of plump body with like a weird turtle head. So, the classic long neck coming out of the water, and just different sorts of aquatic beings that have been in the area. The whole area itself has had all this paranormal and strange activity, and not just Nessie, but like all the other stuff I mentioned in the prior paragraph I was reading about UFO sightings and men in black appearing and just like weird creatures in the woods and all this stuff. Also, Aleister Crowley in 1899, he moved into a house called Boleskine House that was right there on the loch. So he did a bunch of weird stuff in that house, magic rituals, this, that, and the other. That house had a lot of really weird history and a lot of dark, bad energy that seems to have been attached to it over the years, where most people that moved there did not stay there. And so like one of the things was the house was built on top of where an old church used to be that burnt to the ground, and that all the congregation members that were there died in that fire. And so you have that. And there's also another story about during the time of I think it was like the Jacobite rebellion, someone was beheaded there, and you could hear the head like rolling around the house and stuff. And then like other people who would live there. There was this one man who was like a teetotaler his whole life, but then all of a sudden he was like drunk for days and tried to murder his family. Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin bought that house in 1972, and he didn't spend a whole lot of time there. They did some filming there for one of their movies, which was The Song Remains the Same, and then he moved out in 1992, and he said stuff about like how you could hear the head rolling from the one person, and that there was a lot of really bad energy there. And so this house was also in that area of all this weird high strangeness. And so this book is also about like a lot of the high strangeness that happened in Loch Ness, which is quite fascinating. Like history, the lore, and all of that like makes it more enticing and such a fascinating dive into what the heck is going on in Loch Ness. Like, what is all this stuff? What is Nessie? So if any of that sounds interesting to you, definitely check out Nessie by Nick Redfern. It was quite the read. I was highly captivated the whole entire time. Like, I read through that in like, I think 2 days. It's not a huge book, so you can get through it quite easily. And if you like aquatic cryptids or have any interest in that, like this gets super weird and I loved it. I thought it was pretty fantastic. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.